Greetings and welcome to Patent Insider Secrets. This is episode 4, the Commercializer, the game that changed everything. Welcome to Patent Insider Secrets, saving you from IP disasters. This is the podcast where we dive deep into the hidden world of intellectual property, sharing captivating stories and expert insights. I'm your host, Tariq Najila, federally registered patent agent, veteran 10-year USPTO patent examiner, startup IP mentor, and IP strategist. In today's episode, we're diving into the fourth pillar of intellectual property, IP commercialization. This is where the magic happens, where you take all the IP you've carefully developed and fortified and turn it into a money-making machine. And today we've got one of the most incredible success stories in the modern gaming industry. So imagine this. It's the early 2000s and 3 friends have been working for years on a passion project, a gaming app company. Over the course of several years, they've developed 51 games. That's a lot of games. But there's just one problem. None of them have taken off. None of them have made it big. In fact, the money is running out. The reality is sinking in. They're on the verge of closing their doors for good. But before they give up, they make one last ditch effort. They decide to give it one more shot and create just one more game. And that game, it would change their lives forever. They're probably having some of these conversations. And if you're a startup founder, you might be having these conversations yourselves, or you've had them before. I don't know, guys. 51 games, and we barely made enough to keep the lights on. Maybe it's time we face the facts. This just isn't working. I know. But I just can't let go. I mean, we put everything into this. We're so close. What if we try one more idea? Just one more game. If it doesn't work, then we'll walk away. One more? I mean, we've done this 51 times already. What's going to make this one any different? I mean, we could do something crazy like just go all in on ideas. I mean, sketch 10 ideas a day. We're bound to hit something. We've got to try. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? If we fail, we're right back where we are right now. Okay, one last game. Let's go all in. And that's what they did. Every day, the 3 founders sketched out ideas, refining and discarding them until they found something they all agreed on and believed in. And finally, after weeks of brainstorming and experimenting, they agreed on an idea for a simple yet addictive game. Some of you may have guessed it. But that game was Angry Birds. Did you know this is the story behind Angry Birds? It launched in 2009, and what happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. The game took off like wildfire, becoming an overnight sensation. And suddenly these 3 friends who were once on the brink of failure were now seeing their app downloaded. And suddenly these 3 friends who were once on the brink of failure were seeing their app downloaded over 1 billion times. That's right, billion with a B. I can imagine conversations with something like this now. Did you see it? We hit 10 million downloads. 10 million downloads this week. I mean, I can't believe it. We were like about to quit a few months ago, and now this thing is blowing up. I've never seen anything like it. And it's not slowing down. Look at these numbers. Hundreds of thousands of people are playing every minute. This is crazy. And the numbers were astronomical. 1 billion downloads. Players were spending 200 million minutes a day. 866 million hours per year. It was more than a hit. It was a global phenomenon. And just like that, their company, which had been worth almost nothing, was now valued at over 1.2 billion. But what really set the story apart is what happened next. We've all heard of unicorn companies and things that, companies that were on the verge of defeat and they overcome, and it's a good story. But these founders knew something else. They weren't just sitting on a gold mine. They had something even more valuable, intellectual property, and they knew how to commercialize it. So Rovio, the company that owns Angry Birds, that created Angry Birds, the founders had patents on their technology. This kind of technology where you put your finger on the app and you can, based on how the intensity or the pressure that controls the trajectory of the bird as it flies through the air, and how you destroy the structures and knock over the pigs. All of that was part of their technology for a handheld game where you use your fingers on a capacitive touchscreen. So they had patents, they had trademarks, they had copyrights. And so this is what's it. They first took action to protect their IP. The founders weren't just sitting on a gold mine and just put their head in the sand. They trademarked their brand and the Angry Birds name. They filed patents on the gaming technology they developed. They copyrighted the artwork, the music, and every visual asset created related to the game. They copyrighted the artwork, music, and every visual asset related to the game. And then they started to think bigger. I can imagine the brainstorming being like, we've got the game, but really we're just scratching the surface here. I mean, 1.2 billion, a billion downloads. I mean, we've got the game, but we're just scratching the surface. I mean, 1 billion downloads. What if Angry Birds was licensed to other industries? Think about it. Merchandise, toys, even TV shows and movies. We can do everything. Yeah, I mean, people are obsessed with these characters. We could license them to toy companies. Imagine kids playing real-life Angry Bird toys. Why stop with toys? We should partner with food and beverage companies, theme parks. I mean, the possibilities are endless. If we play our cards right, this could be much more than a game. And that's exactly what they did. The founders turned Angry Birds into one of the most successful IP commercialization stories in history. They licensed the brand to over 100 companies globally across industries: toys, clothing, restaurant promotions, location-based entertainment. It was everywhere. Over 2 billion consumer products have been sold since 2010, with the biggest categories being toys, clothing, and restaurant promotions. Their animated content has garnered over 10 billion views, and the Angry Birds movies have generated more than 500 million at the box office. They even had brands and entertainment companies reaching out to license Angry Birds for special editions of the game. This wasn't just a game, it was a global empire. Now, while this sounds like the plot of a Hollywood movie, I know this is really the real-life success story. The story of Rovio and their hit game Angry Birds is a masterclass in intellectual property commercialization. It's not just about creating a product, it's about knowing how to turn that product into an IP asset that can generate revenue for years to come. The real lesson here, if you've got a successful product or brand, you need to protect it and think beyond the initial launch. Intellectual property can unlock opportunities in ways you never imagined if you know how to commercialize it. So what can you learn from Rovio's success? First, protect your IP. Trademark your brand, file patents on all your innovations, copyright your creative assets, and then think bigger. Look for opportunities to license your IP to other industries and let your brand grow beyond its original product. That's the power of IP commercialization. And that's what can turn a simple game or any product into $1 billion. That's the power of IP commercialization. And that's what can turn a simple game or any product into $1 billion global empire. So let's take a deeper dive into the brilliant commercialization strategy. It wasn't just a great game. They knew how to take that success and expand it across multiple markets and industries. This is a textbook example of how a single intellectual property, properly commercialized, can generate wealth across different sectors. So how did they do it? Let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, the most important move Rovio made was realizing the value of licensing their intellectual property to other industries. Most people see success with a product or service, but few recognize the potential to expand it beyond its original form. Rovio understood that early on with Angry Birds, and they said it's more than a game, it's a brand. So they're making the brand bigger than the game. So by licensing Angry Birds to different industries, they were able to capitalize on brand recognition in an entirely new way. They didn't have to manufacture millions of toys themselves or set up their own clothing line. They just licensed the rights to companies that were already industry experts in those fields. This meant that they could enter new markets without incurring the cost or risk that come with traditional expansion. This means you don't have to become the clothing company or become the toy company, but if you license your brand to existing manufacturers, existing toy companies, existing food and beverage companies, then you let them do that work for you, and then they pay you a licensing fee or royalty. Okay, so now let's talk about how they targeted high-impact sectors, like toys, clothing, and food. When you think of Angry Birds, you might automatically think of toys, and that makes sense. It's a natural fit for the gaming demographic. But Rovio didn't stop there. They also ventured into clothing, food and beverages, and even restaurant promotions. They knew that by saturating multiple sectors, they could ensure that Angry Birds stayed at the top of consumers' mind. And if it's at the top of your mind, what are you going to do? You're going to go download the app, you're going to play the game. So for example, toys became one of the largest categories. By licensing Angry Birds to toy manufacturers, Rovio capitalized on the physical manifestation of the digital characters. Kids could now play them with their favorite game characters offline. And this synergy between the digital game and physical products reinforced the brand across different platforms. Now, another move was entering the world of location-based entertainment. This is where Rovio's foresight really comes into play. They knew that theme parks, family entertainment centers, and real-world interactive experiences could offer new avenues to bring Angry Birds to life. So think about roller coasters, creating immersive experiences for families, theme parks, entertainment centers. Imagine walking into an Angry Birds world at a theme park, where you can physically interact with characters in the world you've come to love through the app. Using the birds and the pigs and everything in the app, but now it's in person, in real life. These aren't just games anymore. The entertainment ecosystem. You can have an Angry Birds themed party. This extends the life of the brand, allowing them to keep consumers engaged as long as they play the game from their phones. It also allows them to tap into a new market. Families looking for shared in-person experiences. And the best part, Rovio did not need to build their own theme parks. They simply licensed the IP to those who could. And then let's not forget the entertainment industry. Rovio didn't have to start a film studio or animation studio. They essentially made the move by getting Angry Birds into the world of movies, TVs, and digital content. And the movies were massive successes, generating over $500 million in box office revenue. What's even more impressive is the global reach of the Angry Birds animated content. With over 10 billion views on their animated content, they found a way to keep their audience engaged, and it's not just through the app or the game, but through media. So these TV shows, these cartoons, these movies, they create emotional connections with the characters, making the brand more than just about gameplay. It became part of other people's lives. And then, Rovio expanded the brand to cross-promotion. So one of the smartest moves they made, you might have noticed that seen like the Angry Birds Star Wars theme when there's a new Star Wars movie, or other thematic versions of the game. And this is one of their smartest moves. It was cross promotions with other popular brands and companies. So they used the global popularity of Angry Birds to partner with some of the biggest names in the consumer products and entertainment. This allowed them to expand the brand's presence in new markets without having to do all the heavy lifting themselves. For instance, they partnered with fast food chains, turning Angry Birds into collectible items for kids and kids' meals. Think about the power of a brand like Angry Birds featured in global chains like McDonald's or Burger King. That's tens of thousands of outlets globally, all promoting your brand. These deals gave Rovio massive exposure and tapped into their markets that they would not have reached otherwise. And another masterstroke that the Rovio used was brand extensions and collaborations. This is when other companies pay you to use your brand. And in the case of Angry Birds, other brands reached out to Rovio to license the Angry Birds characters for special editions of their own products. For example, sports teams, shoe companies, and beverage brands all wanted to collaborate with Angry Birds. This not only opened up new revenue streams for Rovio, but also kept the brand fresh in consumers' minds through unexpected and innovative partnerships. And I'll say finally, I'll just say looking at it, licensing in the long tail, global reach and scalability. So lastly, let's talk about the long tail of licensing. Rovio was smart enough to think globally. I mean, it helps that it's a Finnish company, so they're based in England. They're based in Europe. Rovio was smart enough to think globally and scale its operations. So now there are over 100 licensees globally using the Angry Birds brand in various ways. This kind of reach wouldn't have been possible without an aggressive licensing strategy. So you think about that. You have to have Angry Birds in different languages. The app is translated in different languages. You have the branding, the marketing of the product in different languages. So the founders realized that if Angry Birds could be bigger than a game in just one country, by licensing their IP globally, they were able to tap into markets they wouldn't have been able to penetrate themselves. Each market has its own specific licensing deals, making the Angry Birds brands as ubiquitous in Asia as it was in North America and Europe. So in summary, Rovio did not just create a hit game. They created an intellectual property powerhouse. Their success didn't just come from Angry Birds the game, but from Angry Birds the brand. They understood that to truly capitalize on their IP, they needed to license it smartly, extending it into different industries and form strategic partnerships. So what's the lesson for you? Maximize your IP's potential. What can you learn from Rovio's strategy? Here's a key takeaway. Don't limit your IP to its original product or form. Once you got a successful product, protect it, fortify it, and then think about how you can commercialize it across industries. Explore licensing opportunities, brand extensions, and strategic partnerships. Your intellectual property is not just a one-time success, it's a long-term asset that can bring you value across multiple platforms. Remember, when you're thinking about IP commercialization, think big. Your product might just be the start of something much larger. So that wraps up today's extended episode of Patent Insider Secrets, where we've explored how to commercialize intellectual property effectively. Join us next week, where we dive into the final pillar of IP. We have the 5 pillars of intellectual property, grit. We talk about the perseverance and determination needed to build and defend your intellectual property through all the challenges. I'm Tariq Najila, and this has been Patent Insider Secrets, helping you protect your ideas and turn them into real assets.